I'd like to talk a little bit about the influence of classical music on jazz playing, at least from my perspective. There are a lot of interesting ideas that one can draw upon in classical music to enhance your vocabulary as an improviser and as a composer. When you think about it, jazz music has always been a fusion, if you will, of styles of music. The blues combined with classical music on some level resulted in the music of Tin Pan Alley. Um, Most of the major innovations of jazz, I think, involved the combination of some other kind of music outside of jazz morphing with the components of jazz to come up with something very, very different. Case in point, Miles Davis's bands. Miles always had a pianist, as in Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Keith Jarrett, that drew heavily upon the classical music tradition, and particularly when you talk about chromaticism in 20th century classical music, that shifted over very nicely to jazz improvisation. If you listen to the music Miles was doing, and from 1964 on, starting with Herbie Hancock, there was this definite infusion of chromaticism in that music. And from my own experience studying saxophone literature and music in general, I found a couple of different things that were very, very pertinent to my jazz playing. The first one being the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, in particular his cello suites and partitas and violin pieces, many of which I stumbled onto through studying flute and practicing out of some flute books that included transcriptions of some of the jazz Bach pieces. And many of these really lay very nicely on the saxophone. And I've worked on them, and I, in fact, have my students work on these. It's a great way to, number one, practice executing a melody with some sense of grace and style. It's a wonderful way to establish the ability to, as a single note instrument player, play in such a way that is complete, where you can play by yourself and infer rhythm, harmony, and melody simultaneously. And this is something that I've kind of slid over into the jazz realm, and it's essential, really. When you're playing with a rhythm section, you really have to have this awareness, not only of form, but of rhythm, harmony, and melody in such a way where your line implies those three things in a very specific way. So if we take one of these pieces, you'll notice that it sounds like a complete orchestra. I mean, the harmony and form is heavily implicit in the melodic writing. So a piece like